In the headlines, Labour suspends protest, returns to dialogue with federal government. APC holds NEC meeting to fill existing vacancies. Nigeria cuts power supply as ECOWAS vows to confront military junta in Niger Republic. And on the foreign scene, 20 confirmed dead, 9 rescued in Ugandan boat accident. Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to Trust News Update. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. We'll start the bulletin in Abuja as the organized labor has suspended its blind strike action after meeting with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu following its nationwide protest against the removal of fuel subsidy embarked upon by the current administration. The president of the Trade Union Congress, Festus Osifo, made this known during an interview with Arise News on Thursday morning. He said the labor leaders who had earlier met with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu extracted some commitments to some of the issues raised during the meeting for immediate implementation. He explained the suspension of the strike action was based on the meeting with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The NLC President Joe Ajaero noted that the outcome of the meeting with the government did not yield positive changes or concessions that would alter the course of action. They stressed that they remain steadfast in their commitment to representing the Nigerian workers and people's interests and desires. Well, staying with that story, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has met with leaders of the organized labor, Joe Ajaero, and the President General of the TUC, Alex Osifo, after Wednesday's nationwide protest. The leaders say the president made some commitments in response to the demands of organized labor, but there is no indication yet as to whether the protest will be suspended. From the State House, here's Kendi Amudu with more.
If the intention was to get the full attention of the president, Wednesday's protests certainly did. Leaders of the labor unions were back at the presidential villa a few hours after the protests, and unlike the last few meetings, they were negotiating directly with President Tinubu. Their demands have not changed.
The issues are the same issues that led to the protest today, and he has expressed his position, made some commitment, which were taken side by side with what the National Assembly said, the Senate said, and we're taking it back to the office with our colleagues there to review it and release a document on our next line of action. No one person can call it off. That's why I say we have to go back to the office so that they will look at it, the ESCO looks at it before they come up. And by tomorrow, the NSC will have equally their NEC meeting, to look at a bigger picture.
And despite the fact that the president has not shifted ground either, it seems he's ready to make some concessions. Labour is going back to its constituency to consult and decide whether these protests will still go ahead. Nigerians wait with bated breath to see what direction this struggle of wills will go next. From State House Abuja, Kendi Amudu, Trust TV News.
Well, the federal government has filed a contempt case against the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress for resisting an order restricting the unions from embarking on industrial action. The notice of consequence of disobedience to court order was filed before the National Industrial Court in Abuja on Wednesday. The organized labor on Wednesday embarked on nationwide protests against what it called the, quote, anti-people policies of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and other states across the Federation, including states like Lagos, Benue, Abia, Plateau, Kaduna, Kano, Zamfara, Rivers, and many other states across the country. Top officials of the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress joined the protests in the Federal Capital Territory, starting from the Unity Fountain with hundreds of their members. Affiliated unions of the NLC and TUC, including the Nigeria Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG, the National Union of Electricity Employees of Nigeria, the National Union of Road Transport Workers, and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, also joined in the nationwide protest. Well, away from the protest, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, says it has little or no control over pricing of either PMS or foreign exchange rate. A principal manager with the Apex Bank, Osagi Clement, said this while appearing before the House of Representatives ad hoc committee investigating the recent hike in the price of PMS across the country. The report.
One of the reasons explained by the Central Bank of Nigeria is that the value of the naira at the interbank forex market is largely driven by the forces of demand and supply. According to him, the exchange rate is determined by market forces such as the demand for foreign currency by importers, exporters, and investors. Osage further explained that the demand for PMS has gone down by 30% due to its low demand following the hike in the price. He advised the federal government to discourage fuel importation and encourage local production as $150 million is currently being deployed for PMS importation monthly through CBN intervention, which is posing a serious challenge to the economy.
Can we just take out PMS from the bucket and give it a special treatment so that we can have some level of stability in PMS price for a short time to give us room to put our house in order? Maybe other local refineries will start working, so we might not need to be importing the product anymore.
On their part, the Executive Director, Distribution Systems of the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Agency, NMDPRA, Ogbogu Ukoha, who also appeared before the ad hoc committee, stated that prices of petrol are determined by the market forces of demand and supply.
The same PIA has given the authority quite enormous powers to intervene to avoid cartel building, which is why we've introduced competition, to also deal with illegal profiteering, and more importantly, to work with FCCPC in relation to consumer protection.
While expressing worries over the low demand of petrol since the increment caused by the removal of subsidy, Chairman of the Committee on Petrol Price Increase, Babajimi Benson, called on the relevant regulators to regulate pricing since the Petrol Industry Act, PIA, gave it the powers to do so.
The demand for foreign exchange has gone down, which is good for Nigerians. And they've promised that within 4 months, we would see an increased flow of foreign exchange. We would also see a mass reduction in the volume of demand for foreign exchange. Secondly, this subsidy removal has caused a 30% reduction in the consumption of fuel.
It is widely believed that the CBN can influence the exchange rate through its monetary policy decisions, such as adjusting interest rates or setting foreign currency reserves. However, these policies may not always have the desired effect.
And in politics, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has called on the leadership of the All Progressives Congress, APC, to embrace accountability in all forms, as well as promotion of top-level women and youth participation in the day-to-day operations of the parties to strengthen the party in power. The president made the charge on Wednesday during the National Caucus meeting of the party, which took place at the State House Conference Center. Special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Ajure Ngelale, said this in a statement. The national leader of the APC noted that the future of the APC belongs to Nigeria's young people and women, considering their proven dedication and demonstrable prowess in election matters. The party leaders in attendance, which included the Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, former National Chairman, Bisi Akonde, John Oyegun, serving governors, former governors and National Assembly members, the President highlighted decisions he has taken so far to reform the country's economy, reiterating that Nigeria cannot continue to sustain the Treasury depleting fuel subsidy and losses incurred by the past foreign exchange management regime. Acting APC National Chairman Senator Abubakar Kyari commended President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the steps he has taken so far to reposition the economy for greater productivity and future prosperity. The acting National Chairman presented 2 memos to the National Caucus. They include the appointment of external auditors and filling of vacant party offices. The two major party positions which the caucus considered are that of the national chairman and the national secretary of the APC that will be filled by the National Executive Council at its scheduled meeting on Thursday in Abuja. Elsewhere, the Independent National Electoral Commission has again failed to open its defense in a petition challenging the election of Kebbi State Governor Nasiru Idris due to absence of its witnesses. INEC, the first respondent in the case filed by PDP governorship candidate in the gubernatorial election, Aminu Bande, has told the tribunal at the weekend that witnesses it intended to call were not ready. Umar Afanda sent in this report from Birnin Kebbi.
At the close of the tribunal sitting last Friday, when the counsel to the petitioners, General Amin Bande and PDP, closed presentation of their witnesses against all the four respondents, it was arranged that the respondents, Independent National Electoral Commission, Nasiru Idris, the governor, Umar Abubakar, the deputy governor, and the ruling APC will open a defense on Monday. INEC, being the first respondent on the allegation of rigging in the last 2023 governorship election, was expected to open its defense on Monday, but requested the tribunal to give them additional 3 days, which the tribunal ruled over and gave them Tuesday as against the Monday, which it now also failed, all on the accounts that they were yet to be ready with their witnesses. Barrister Nura Bello, one of the counsels to the petitioners, has shedded more light on the 2 days sitting of the tribunal.
In the present petition before the Kebbi State Election Petition Tribunal, we have 4 respondents. The respondents are INEC, Nasiru Idris, Abubakar Umar Argungu, and APC, which is All Progressive Congress. The first respondent, who is INEC, who is supposed to open their defense yesterday, Monday, applied to the Honorable Tribunal that they could not proceed with their case because there were some documents they are trying to obtain from the Independent National Electoral Commission, of which the documents are not yet handy. And as a result of that, they asked for an application for the tribunal to give them more time for them to procure those documents and tender them before the tribunal, of which the tribunal yesterday, Monday, adjourned and gave them today, which is Tuesday, for them to produce the document and tender them, and also produce with their witnesses if they have any. And after tendering those documents, the learned counsel for the first respondent applied again to the tribunal that the witnesses they intend to call are not available. For that, they are asking for an adjournment to Thursday to enable them procure those witnesses and present them before the tribunal.
All efforts to convince the INEC councils to speak and shed more light on why they continuously seek for adjournment despite the limited 4 days of their defense failed. From the Kebbi State Governorship Election Tribunal, Umar Afanda, Trust TV.
Now, pharmacists say self-medication poses a grave danger to the health system in Nigeria, warning many against engaging in it. They spoke with Trust TV in Asaba, Delta State, during their annual meeting, pointing out the dire consequences of self-medication on the lives of Nigerians. The pharmacists harp on the need to desist from taking drugs without prescription from medical experts. They noted that many lives have been lost due to self-medication, stating that sensitization is one of the keys of solving self-medication in Nigeria.
Self-medication, it has, cost so many lives, leading to high mortality rate. And for us, the people, we keep telling people the more you can do if you're not feeling fine is to meet or seek a healthcare professional.
Professional in healthcare, you can reach him anytime and he can assess you and give you advice on what to do next. So I believe that people, that's people in the urban areas where there are pharmacies. But in the rural areas, government has established private healthcare centers and other hospitals where you can go to. It's better to meet them than self-medicate because it could be dangerous. And the drug could be as deadly, if not more than the disease, if you use it inappropriately.
Because sometimes people will say, because they are experiencing the same symptoms with what another person is experiencing, they will want to say, use this for what I used. And meanwhile, there could be clash of symptoms. So we advise people to always seek a healthcare professional before taking medications.
Well, staying in Delta State, the police have paraded 8 suspects in connection with armed robbery, illegal possession of firearms, kidnapping, and car theft. The police public relations officer, Bright Edafe, who briefed the media during the parade, says that one of the suspected kidnappers was gunned down as he tried to escape. He warned that the state command is determined to smoke out criminals from their hideouts across Delta State.
On the 29th of July, we recorded the rescue of a particular kidnapped victim who was kidnapped along Japa Road. In the case of this suspect, this syndicate, they usually go on keke. They will pretend like they have caused an accident, hit this particular Lexus vehicle, whereby the driver of the vehicle came down thinking maybe they have badged his car, only for him to come down. These hoodlums came out with a double barrel gun, forcefully kidnapped him and put him inside his own vehicle while they were on their way towards the Efuru Road at Fupre Junction in particular. The patrol team from the Bumede Division, while on stop and search, intercepted them, and these hoodlums came out of the vehicle, one of them bearing firearm. There were about 4 in number and they escaped. So some of the policemen went after them, successfully neutralized the person bearing the firearm. The others escaped, were still on their trail.
All right, we're still watching the news update on Trust TV. Still coming up. How 155% school fees hike generates ripples across Nigeria. We have more on this and many other stories coming up ahead after the break. Welcome back to the news update on Trust TV. Here's a quick recap of our top stories at this hour. Nigeria Labour suspends strike, returns to dialogue with the federal government. APC holds NEC meeting to fill existing vacancies in the party. Well, moving on to some of the day's other news stories. The Nigeria Immigration Service in Kebbi State has said that it has intercepted over 52 trafficked victims and handed them over to the National Agency for the Prohibition in Trafficking of Persons from February last year. NIS Controller Rabi Bashir Nuhu told journalists during a briefing to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the service that upon her assumption of office in February last year, the command succeeded in intercepting many youths, mostly girls, that were being planned for trafficking to Libya through the Ilela border in Sokoto State. She said they also have intercepted many illegal migrants trying to move in and out of Nigeria through the Kebbi borders. She noted that what was more worrisome was that most of the victims of human trafficking were youths that had no knowledge of what awaited them on their way and in Libya, where they were being trafficked to. She added that the service was carved out of the Nigerian police back in 1958. To education matters now, students of the University of Jos are lamenting the over 155% increment in school fees by the management of the institution. The university management had on Saturday released a new school fee schedule for fresh and returning students in the institution, a development that many parents and students say is uncalled for. Ado Musa completes the story.
The approved new charges for the 2022 academic session indicates that fresh students will pay 213,000 naira, while returning students will pay 160,000 naira. Last session, Both fresh and returning students pay 45,000 naira each. However, the students say the new charges are too high for parents considering the economic hardship in the country.
Because the increment is very high, in the sense that a lot of us cannot accommodate such. We interact within us, we know our capacity, and seriously, the way how the country is going, I don't think if most of us will come back to the school and continue with our program. I don't think so.
Honestly, like every other Nigerians, it's very outrageous. Like I keep telling people, most of us here, we are students and we are fathers. We have children also who are also in school. We have our wives who are also in school. We have our dependents who depend on us for their schooling. So now increasing the school fees to this kind of amount is so outrageous.
I have heard that University of Jos have increased their school fees, and it's not nice at all, because some people are coming here because they cannot afford private university. Are they trying to compare themselves to private universities? Some of us came here because we'll not be able to afford it at all. 200,000 is too much.
The students, however, call on the federal government and the university authority to look into the current economic hardship and review the charges downward.
I'm calling on the relevant authorities to look at us, most especially with the masses, because if you look at the institutions, majority of us are coming from the poorest family. So battling with what we eat now is a problem. Talk more of paying school fees.
And we call on the relevant authorities. If actually the federal government has said that this increment shouldn't hold water, they should monitor, they should set up a monitoring team or committee to go to all these different schools, because they're trying to exploit some students. As our president used to say, that let the poor breathe. Honestly, let us breathe, because there are some poor masses who cannot be able to pay this kind of school fees. If not, we have to go to private universities and school.
For the government to look into it and reduce the price of the school fees, because learning is not only for the rich. Even us that are poor are supposed to learn.
President Bola Tinubu had in his nationwide broadcast on Monday asked higher institutions, especially universities, to avoid arbitrary increment of school fees in order to ensure that students continue with their education. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
In other news, major cities across Niger Republic are experiencing prolonged blackouts after Nigeria cut its power supply to the neighboring West African country. According to Nigelec, an electricity company in Niger Republic, the development followed an emergency meeting by the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, where sanctions, including freezing utility services, were imposed on Niger Republic over the recent military coup. The cities of Niamey, Maradi, and Zindar each witnessed about an hour of electricity at the time before it went off for about 5 hours. This is said to be unusual in Niger Republic, which usually enjoys a reliable, steady power supply. Niger Republic is heavily dependent on Nigeria for most of its electricity supply. The transmission company of Nigeria, when asked about the development in Niger Republic, declined to comment on the issue, but an anonymous source disclosed that the BBC that the electricity supply to Niger was cut on Tuesday following a presidential directive. On Sunday, West African leaders gave the military junta 1 week to give up power or face possible military intervention. 20 people died when a boat capsized in Ugandan waters in Lake Victoria on Wednesday morning, according to a police statement, as rescuers and residents search for survivors. The Ugandan police say on Twitter that 9 people have been rescued so far. The boat was carrying charcoal, fresh food and fish when the accident occurred at about 5 a.m. local time. The cause of the accident is attributed to overloading and bad weather. Around 34 people were believed to be on board. They appeal to members of the public who travel on waterways to always wear life jackets and not to overload their vessels. Africa's largest lake has witnessed many boat disasters, with the accidents often blamed on overcrowding and poor weather conditions. 32 people died in November of 2018 after a pleasure boat sank on Lake Victoria during bad weather, with with Ugandan police saying the vessel had more than 90 people aboard. And in sports, Nigeria's senior women's basketball team, D Tigers, are through to the semi-final stage of the ongoing 2023 FIBA Women's Afro-Basket Tournament, currently underway in Kigali, Rwanda. Playing at the BK Arena in one of the quarterfinal games, D Tigers step up their quest for an astonishing fourth consecutive continental title, beating Mozambique 59-52. And Nigeria will face off with the host Rwanda in the semi-finals in an explosive encounter. Well, good luck to all the ladies as they try to make Nigeria proud yet again. Well, that's our package on the news update at this hour. Feel free to follow us across our social media platform for more content and for more news. Do please check out our website, trusttv.com. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you for watching.